kids, welcome to Bookworms Reading Studio. I am teacher Kyle, and today we are going to read and explore a story from Dumalan, Dumalan, which is in the southern part of Cebu. But before we try and go into the story, let us first know our objectives of the day. Today, you are expected to identify the role of the characters of the local story, analyze the story through its plot and theme, and interpret the meaning suggested in visual media, focusing on the visual elements. Before we immerse into the world of wonder and fantasies, let's try to understand some difficult words from the story to improve our understanding. Trails, a track made by a passage especially through the wilderness. Sample sentence: they serve as guides to the hikers who want to climb the rough trails of Dumalan. Tranquility, the state of being quiet and peaceful. Sample sentence: nature provides tranquility to the native folks. Sentiment, refined feeling, an idea colored by emotion. Sample sentence: the giant got insulted with her sentiment. Mourn, to feel or express grief or sorrow. Sample sentence: the trees mourn over the disappearance of the Tres Marias. Remnants, parts or remains of something. Sample sentence: the native folks believe that the three rocks were remnants of the Tres Marias. Now that we have decoded the difficult words in the story, let me ask you some questions to ponder on. If you were an inanimate object, what would you be and why? Do you believe that inanimate objects have past lives? Share your ideas. Cebu has its fair share of supernatural and mystic stories. Among them is the story of the three guardians in the mountains of Dumalan, Dumalan. Now kids, join me as we explore, understand, and read the folklore from the southern part of Cebu. The title of our story for today is Tres Marias of Dumalan, a local folklore from Dumalan, Dumalan, retold by Karen Jane O. Sandoy, illustrated by Joey T. Singahan. Cebu has its fair share of supernatural and mystic stories. Among them is the story of the three guardians in Dumalan, Dumalan. According to a legend, there were three beautiful guardians living in the mountains of Dumalan. Native folks refer to them as Tres Marias. They serve as guides to the hikers who want to climb the rough trails of Dumalan. Their beauty makes the trees dance along with the soft blows of the wind goddess Lihangin. The guardians live in peace, enjoying the tranquility nature could offer, until one day a giant appeared, threatening the locals. These mountains are mine. I will forge fake trails to stray these passers-by. They do not deserve my kingdom, the giant said. The Tres Marias talked to the giant and offered possible ways so people could still visit the place. The giant remained hard-headed. Only one thing could change my mind. Marry me, and I will let them visit the place. The Tres Marias fought against the giant with whatever means they can. They used pieces of stones, but remained unsuccessful. One of the Tres Marias screamed out of frustration, "We will never marry you. You're evil inside and out." The giant got insulted with her sentiment and out of anger, he cast a spell. In an instant, the guardians turned into giant rocks. For days, the mountains went silent. The trees stopped dancing. The wind stopped blowing. Nature mourned over the disappearance of the Tres Marias. The giant felt a pang of guilt and decided to leave the mountains. When he left, Lihangin started blowing the winds, and along with the blows are soft melodies. The melodies were not foreign. It sounded like the chuckles of Tres Marias. The locals tried to recreate a more accessible trail for the hikers. Its entrance were 3 rocks covered with healthy moss. They believed that those were the remnants of the 3 guardians that made them safe during their travels. And that's the story of the Tres Marias of Dumalan, a local folklore from Dumalan, Dalagete. Awesome work! Moving on, and to assess your understanding of the story, let's answer these following questions. Question number 1. What was the duty of the Tres Marias in the mountains of Dumalan? That's right. They guide the locals who pass by the rough trail. Second question. What was the main problem in the story? Awesome! The giant does not want the locals to come to Dumalan. The third and final question. After becoming rocks, how did the Tres Marias maintain their duty as guides? Brilliant! They serve as the entrance points in the passage made by the locals, keeping the passers safe and guided in their travels. Now that you have known the story of the Tres Marias of Dumalan, let's help each other interpret the visual media through its visual elements. Visual media are sources of information in the form of visual representations. Visual elements are any characteristics that we can see, such as color and framing. From the multiple visual elements, we'll be focusing on 2, color. It has the strongest effect on our emotions. And framing. It is the placement of the subject in relation to other objects. Have you grasped the lesson clearly? Let's check by answering the following questions. Number 1. What do you call the sources of information in the form of visual representations? That's right, visual media. Number 2. What visual element determines the atmosphere of the scene or the emotion of the characters? Correct, color. Number 3. What visual element highlights the subject focus of a particular scene in a story? Awesome. Framing. Now that we are done with our discussion and the different activities, let us now check what we have learned together. Let's answer the following questions. Instructions for our assessment. Read each item very carefully and write the letter of the correct answer. Number 1. The class expressed their sentiments about garbage disposal. What does sentiments mean? Is it A, feelings, B, anger, C, issues, or D, claims? The answer is letter A, feelings. Number 2. Her family mourned over the death of her grandmother. What does mourned mean? Is it A, was overjoyed, B, grieved, C, talked, or D, prepared? The answer is letter B, grieved. Number 3. Where did the narrator hear the story of Tres Marias? Is it A, social media, B, neighbors, C, Facebook post, or D, legend? The answer is letter D, legend. Number 4. Who passes by the rough trails of Dumalan? A, locals, B, giant, C, Tres Marias, or D, lihangin? The answer is letter A, locals. Number 5. What happened to nature when the Tres Marias disappeared? A, nature celebrated, B, nature rejoiced, C, nature got angry, or D, nature mourned? The answer is letter D, nature mourned. Number 6. In the illustration, what color signifies that nature is tranquil and healthy? Is it A, white, B, blue, C, gray, or D, green? The answer is letter D, green. Number 7. What does red symbolize in the illustration? A, excitement, B, anger, C, happiness, or D, fear? Number 7 is letter B, anger. Number 8. The illustration shows how the characters are situated to each other. What element is being emphasized? Is it A, visual media, B, visual elements, C, color, or D, framing? The answer is letter D, framing. I am certain that you all did a good job in that test. To reinforce your learning in our class today, let's all take note of our assignment. Here is your assignment. Take a picture where nature is preserved, or the environment is well taken care of. In your picture, kindly emphasize color and framing. Write a caption of your picture consisting of one sentence only. Let's take a look at an example. This picture with a caption, "Striking colors are proofs that plants live healthy lives," shows that nature is preserved and well taken care of. In grading your outputs, look at this rubric and it will guide you in completing the task. It was indeed a day of fun and excitement and learning with you all. Till next time, here in Bookworms Reading Studio. Bye for now, and see you in the next episode.